Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily with Ray Flowers, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to use the promo code FSD20 for a 20% discount on the products over at fantasyguru.com. Hey there, all. Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. Just playing with little tech issues here, but I think we're good to go on this Thursday, the 30th of May of 2024. Again, I am Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. You can find me over there all the time answering questions in Discord, doing tons of baseball questions, tons of football questions. We're about ready to start the rocket and rolling of the football piece here on the show. As we were talking about last couple of days, we had a little bit of a hiccup here. We're actually starting tomorrow. Russell Clay will join us tomorrow. We'll have Armando Marcel, Tyler Beaker, and Russell Clay on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, moving forward, starting next week. We'll get them on and we'll just start banging out information. Hopefully you'll go to fantasyguru.com and click that subscribe tab in the top right corner and join us for the football season, whether you want to do wagering, whether you want to do DFS or seasonal. We've got it all over there at the site. And Jeff Mans was talking about this on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM yesterday. And he's like, we've got like, if you add up all the rankings, there's like 1,500 players ranked for football. Got dynasty rankings, PPR rankings, half-point PPR rankings. I think we're going to have Superflex rankings. We have IDP rankings. We have rookie rankings. Like, we got rankings about all these kind of things. We're going to have draft books like we do in baseball. Tyler, Russell, and Armando, I think, are going to do draft books based upon different scoring systems. We'll obviously have tons of articles I've been writing myself, my by-the-numbers pieces, doing that every Friday here. So tomorrow I'll knock out an X. I think I've got tight ends and wide receivers done. I got running backs and quarterbacks to do. We'll have that out. We'll all be doing podcasts and shows and all the articles for the preseason product over at fantasyguru.com. Officially, I think it drops tomorrow. So check that out. We'll have a little bit more information when we know for sure what all of that is entailing. If you want to get involved in the baseball product, you can still do that, folks. You can still get involved with the seasonal baseball piece on the first of every month as part of that product at fantasyguru.com. On the first of every month, I update all the rankings. So we're a couple of days away, June 1st, for me updating the entire rankings set. And as all of you have been a member before or currently are, you understand that that's not me just moving two guys around a couple of spots. I start from scratch and redo the whole damn thing. So it's a lot of work, and hopefully it's a lot of help for those of you looking to make trades or evaluate your current players. So you can get the seasonal situation still, if possible, to help your fantasy squad. I mean, it is possible to help out your fantasy squad if you are inclined. We also have the seasonal pass for DFS and wagering that are currently available. Right now, if you go to fantasyguru.com, sign up for the, again, subscribe now tab in the top right. You can join the MLB DFS or MLB wagering if you sign up for any of those products, either one of those products, I should say. We'll toss in the rest of the basketball season and the rest of football season. We'll toss in NASCAR, PGA, and MMA. We'll just give it to you. I think soccer's in there too, right? So we'll just give it to you. So it's a nice little add-on there for those of you that want to get involved with baseball. We're still doing baseball every single day. The crew's writing cash game breakdowns, GPP breakdowns. I'm doing ramblings. We're answering questions in Discord. We've got a lot of action going there. You can always hit up support at fantasyguru.com. In terms of this show, quickly, you can watch it at Fantasy Guru, or you can watch it on YouTube at youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. You can watch it live at 11 a.m. Eastern every day, Monday through Friday. Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. You can watch it live there as well. If you're watching either one of those spots, you can leave a comment, a question, and we'll address it at the end of the show as we do every day. I see some of them already starting to come in today. You can also find the show live on Twitter X if you want to follow us there, or always stored on your favorite podcast network. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily, or at fantasyguru.com, click that Elite Plus tab at the top. All right, here's what we're talking about today. And I apologize if you're from New York. I don't really apologize if you're from New York. But the Mets stink. How bad have things gotten for the Mets? Well, we'll talk about it. I think everyone knows kind of at this point in time, you kind of know what's going on, but we'll talk about the whole scenario. There's a lot going on there with the Mets. We'll talk about some solid performances from guys like Corey Seager and Matt Vierling at the plate. Shota Imanaga with the Cubs got obliterated last night. We'll talk a little bit about that. George Kirby, MacKenzie, Gore, Seth Lugo pitching very well. Braxton Garrett too. And then there's Baily Ober. And some people getting upset with Baily Ober in Discord, so we'll have a quick discussion about him as well. On the injury front, we lead off with 2 Mets there, Edwin, Diaz, Pete Alonso. We'll talk about Alonso's situation and what's going on with the Mets bullpen. Alek Manoah's got an elbow issue. Darvish hurt his hamstring. Junior Caminero, I don't know if we're ever going to see him this year. I'm exaggerating, but hurt his leg again. So we'll talk more about that setback, another setback for the Uber prospect of the Rays, who can't seem to keep anybody healthy at all. And then Tyler O'Neill, just an update on him. We've talked about him here on the show. All right, let's talk about the Mets. And you probably have seen what has happened the last 17 hours or whatever it is, but here's a rundown before we dive into the actual team. Jorge Lopez came into the game yesterday for the Mets in the bullpen. It was a close game. He pitched like butt. The Dodgers blew the game open. So after he pitched like butt, he was removed from the game. He flung his glove into the crowd. He pulled his jersey out of his pants, was pissed off. Started talking to the press after the game. And here are the quotes of what he said. If you didn't see them, these are something. And here's what he said. Quote, "I think I've been on the worst team in probably the whole effing MLB. Whatever happened, happens. So whatever they want to do. I'll be here tomorrow if they want me. I'm going to keep doing this thing. I'm healthy. I'm ready to come back tomorrow if they want me to be here." Unquote. So I guess he was given an opportunity because, they're thinking maybe this is a language barrier, Spanish, English. Was asked the second time. He said, "No, that's what I said." So he basically said the Mets are the worst team in baseball. And he said he's available today if the Mets want him. He's not going to be available today because the Mets don't want him. They're going to DFA him. So he's going to be released, try to latch on with another team. At least that's all the reporting we're hearing now. So everything's kind of come to a head here with the Jorge Lopez situation. And what are we dealing with? We have Stephen Cohen, who's bought the team and had one great season. And then the other 3 years have been butt. And there's huge expectations because he's one of the richest guys going in the world. He was going to come in and, change the face of the organization, all these kind of things. They put all this money into the team. It didn't work. They started to tear the team down. They still have the highest payroll in baseball, if I'm not mistaken, this year. The highest in baseball because the Dodgers are deferring stuff. So technically the Mets have a higher payroll. They're 22-33. They have gone 7-18 in May, and they've lost 8 of 9 games. They, and I'm being kind, are playing like butt. They have one fewer victory with the highest payroll in baseball. One fewer victory than the Athletics. Oof. We'll talk about it in a minute with the bullpen more in depth with Edwin Diaz and his health issue. Talk more about Pete Alonso and his hand issue. But here's what's going on. Francisco Lindor, who we talked about on the show, who hurt himself bunting, who struck out standing there like a dope against Camilo Duvall because he claimed he couldn't see the pitch. He played yesterday, so at least physically he's on the field. Now, he's performed below expectations. His WOBA right now is 289, which is miles from league average. Miles from league average. Sitting 211. He has not performed. Brandon Nimmo's got a passable WOBA, but it's well below his career levels. He's hitting 214. His slugging percentage is 380. Like, he's getting on base, but his game has been kind of Harrison Bader's done pretty well. But, it's Harrison Bader. It's not like an earth-shattering player. Matt Vientos has done very well since being promoted. He is a bright spot at the moment for the Mets, one of the few. Brett Baty has struggled mightily. DJ Stewart's been fine, but he's DJ Stewart. Francisco Alvarez is on the injured list. He's performed decently when on the field, but he's on the injured list working his way back from the UCL issue in his thumb. Starling Marte has been fine. JD Martinez has been fine. Jeff McNeil's been bad. I mean, this offense has just not been very good. And then you look at the pitching side of things, and, Sean Manaea has been very effective. Luis Severino has been, same thing, very effective. Reed Garrett was great to start the year. Then he had a little bit of a speed bump, but he's been very solid out of the bullpen. Tyler McGill had a nice outing the other day, even though we haven't seen him much on the hill. Budo's had a couple of nice efforts, but he was sent to the minors. Christian Scott's done a decent job since promoted. Give him full marks there. But this is a pitching staff that's, just kind of, ugh. Jose Quintana's got an ERA of 5. He leads the team in starts. Adrian Hauser's got an ERA of 7. I don't know why he's even making starts or at any point for the Mets this year. He's not very good. They tried Julio Teheran. They've tried Joey Lucchesi. They've tried David Peterson. Like, it's just been bad. And when you're in New York and things go bad, you get smashed. And, again, I went through the numbers. They have less victories than the A's. Justin Fensterman, my co-host on Elite Sports Game Time, which you can hear Monday through Thursday, obviously tonight as well, 8 to 10 Eastern on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. He mentioned that he took the under 81 victories for the Mets when the season began, and a bunch of his friends were like, "You're an idiot." And it's like, well, it's looking pretty good right now. Anyway, end of the day, that does not mean we don't have usable fantasy pieces. I just wanted to pull back for a second and talk more holistically about a baseball situation. And, this is, for those people that say, you can't win if you don't spend money. And if you win if you spend money, you have this huge advantage. The Mets are a prime example of that just not being the case. I mean, they're spending all this money and their team stinks. And frankly, with the implosion of the bullpen and the ever-growing list of players that are dealing with bumps and bruises and the struggles of some of the young players, like I don't have great hope that this is, they're going on a run where they, win 19 of their next 27 games, right? So if you're a Mets fan, I think this is going to be one of those rough years. We've all been there. It'll be really interesting to see what they do because, they brought a guy like JD Martinez in to give him some stability and depth in the lineup. Do they trade him? He's not around long-term. Do they move Starling Marte? He's not a part of this team long-term. Do they move Jose Quintana or Adrian Hauser? Just try to get something for these guys because they're not long-term answers to the future either with this squad. So we'll follow the team and, obviously see what they do moving forward, but a really messy situation. And I guess at the end of the day, I'll give Jorge Lopez credit for being honest, because he can't be the only person in that locker room that's pissed off. But that was a rough look for Jorge Lopez, and we'll see who adds him. Teams don't like it when you go in front of the media and call your team out. I don't know how quickly he'll get a contract. We'll see. All right, speaking of positivity, let's go to that side of things. Now we move on from the Mets. The Rangers have had tons of injuries. Talking about a team that's injured, we talked about them all the time. Yesterday, we went through the litany of players coming and going from the injured list just in the last couple of days. Corey Seager, man, is insane right now. He had another home run last night. That's the third straight game that he went deep. He's got 8 home runs in 8 games. His OPS has gone from 680 to 830 in 8 games. And all those struggles, and it's really interesting. I got a trade offer in one of my leagues. I got 2 trade offers, actually, 5 days ago for Corey Seager. And I said no to both of them. And he's just been on fire. And the Rangers are looking for everyone to come together. They can't get Jonah Heim and Nathan Lau and Adolis Garcia and Simeon and Seager. They can't get all these guys hitting at the same time. But as we know, obviously, that is a banging lineup. They just got back Langford. They'll get back Carter at some point. Like, it's a really good lineup if those guys can all gel and get going at the same time. Corey Seager's carrying the team right now. And all of a sudden, a player who for the first month of the season was terrible, boom. And this is hope, or at least gives some hope, I guess I should say, for people that have Julio Rodriguez or people that have Corbin Carroll. Like, maybe June is the month for those guys, right? Because we're seeing that may be the month for Seager to get things back into perspective of where reasonably we could have been expecting the performances to be. But just wanted to give a shout out to Seager, who has done nothing wrong here for the last 3 weeks. And the last 2 weeks, he's been amazing. Matt Vierling is someone that was mentioned in the Raiders Ramblings piece over at fantasyguru.com. Just to point that out, by the way, for those of you expecting there to be a cash game breakdown today, there won't be. Major League Baseball's schedule is such that both DraftKings and FanDuel have 4-game slates. We need a 5-game slate for the cash game breakdown to be written. I still fully anticipate. I don't know this. I didn't check this morning, but I still anticipate there being a GPP article up at fantasyguru.com for today's action. But there will be no cash game breakdown because we need 5 games. There's only 4 on the slate. Interestingly enough, I was looking at the DraftKings, right? They only have like 3 of the games. Like they have the 4:00 games, but not the late game. Or maybe they knocked off the early game. Anyway, I think they have a 3-game slate in addition to a 4-game slate. It's just weird. But this is another, we talked about this a lot, and thank goodness it's turning June because things are going to get better in June. Major League Baseball schedule has been all over the place. Bottom line, though, no cash game breakdown today. Back to the Ramblings piece. Yesterday in the Ramblings piece, I mentioned Matt Vierling, and basically, there was movement that was made. We had, Kerry Carpenter got hurt, and Keel Badu was called up. Vierling looks like he's going to be in the lineup every day for a while now. And, that's understandable when you consider how he's performed. He had a home run yesterday. The game before that, he had a home run. The game before that, he had 2 home runs. So he's got 4 home runs and 9 RBIs in 3 games. And because his numbers were, they weren't depressed. His numbers were just kind of there. But all of a sudden, he's hitting 289 with a 503 slugging percentage. He's not a 289 hitter, and he's not a 503 slugging percentage guy. Those numbers are artificially inflated by the last couple of games and the fact that he's under 170 plate appearances. But he's going to play a lot. And, if you go back to the start of last season, he's shown the ability to be a 10 to 15 home run guy. Maybe he can swipe you 10 bases. It's not exciting, but it's there. And, when you're looking for help, and I know a lot of you are looking for help on your teams, and a lot of you are looking for help on your teams now. You're not necessarily concerned about August. You need help now. Matt Vierling is a passable pickup. Also look at this. In his last 3 games, he's hit third, second, and first. He's been all over the lineup, and I hate when this happens, okay? I'm a big believer in here's your job, go do it, kid. But if you look at since May 15th, here's where he started in the batting order. First, fifth, fourth, fifth, second, fifth, first, second, third. Okay? That doesn't make any sense. Let's say it this way. He's going to be a top 4 hitter for the next couple of weeks. That's what it really looks like. So that's a positive. He's not hitting down the order like, he's not hitting 7th or something and losing plate appearances later in games. Do I have high hopes that he is someone that I'm going to be able to start consistently and feel good about it in like a 12-team mix league? I'm going to say no. But I haven't mentioned yet, he does qualify in the outfield. He does qualify at third base. So that's the nice flexibility we love to see. He is in a nice groove right now. I'd love to see his walk rate tick back up to where it's been previously. A 4% walk rate is not good. That's you got to show more patience than that. His batted ball data, though, to be fair, is much improved. His exit velocity is over 92 miles an hour, which is really nice. He's lifting the ball more than previous. His launch angle is about 16%. It's about 11 for his career. So he's starting to lift the ball. When you're in that 16% zone and you're hitting the ball that hard, you're going to have success. And in fact, his expected slugging, even though it's not 503, his expected slugging of 446 would be a career best expected slugging mark. And I think the data clearly suggests that that's doable. So 450 slugging percentage is doable. If he's hitting 250 with a 450 slugging percentage, he's gonna be a 250 hitter with a 750 OPS, which is league average. And if he's playing every day hitting the top 3, we got a guy. So nothing earth-shattering with Vierling, but in a nice groove and going to be in a good spot in the batting order, at least in the short term until they get healthier there with the Tigers. Let's go to the pitching side of things and talk about Shota Imanaga. And this was happening live on the show last night, again, 8 to 10 Eastern, Monday through Thursday, Elite Sports Game Time, me and Justin Fensterman. And every time we looked up, there was another run. There's another run. In the end, he went 4 1/3 innings and gave up 7 runs. And it was terrible. Now, he was coming off an extended rest. He basically allowed as many runs last night as he allowed all season. And all of a sudden, it's like a eesh, right? But when you pull back, and it's something that I wrote about in the preseason with Imanaga. It's in his player profile over at fantasyguru.com. And it's something we talked about, I think, here on the show too. That given his pitch mix, his style of pitching, the shape of his pitches, all these kind of things, given who he is, there were always going to be issues with the long ball unless he drastically altered his pitching. He's not drastically altered his pitching. He's leaned into it, and he's been fantastic. Even after last night's beatdown, he still is sitting with the home run to fly ball ratio of 7%. That number's going up. League average 11, 12%, right? That number is going up from 7%. He allows a 46% fly ball rate, which is a big number. He allows a 19% launch angle, which is a big number. Those are bad places to be if you want to keep your ERA at 1.9, which is still where it's at after 10 starts, which is amazing. Imanaga, when the weather warms up in Chicago and Wrigley starts becoming an offensive environment, we could be running into some efforts where he's giving up multiple home runs in a game. That's just the nature of what we've got. What we also have is a strikeout an inning. We have a pitcher who's walked 10 guys in 10 innings. So there's no panic with Imanaga. Everyone had to know that his ratios were not sustainable. Unfortunately, it was a significant beatdown last night that put you in harm's way in a head-to-head setup. I would not look, and I know it's as hard, but I don't look at Imanaga differently today than I did yesterday at all. Not in the least. Okay, and you shouldn't either. Now, the problem will become, what if next time he goes out and it's another 2 home runs and he gives up 5 runs? Then people are going to start to get really nervous. But understand, like I'm talking about, his whip is 1, his ERA is 1.9. Like that's just, his expected ERA right now is 3. His xFIP is 3.4. His SIERA is 3.3. We're basically talking about it from this point forward, having his ERA be 3.5 probably the rest of the way. Is that bad? No, because that's still going to leave him with an ERA of 3.01 when the season's over. Like, he was so amazing to start the year. Let's scale back those expectations and not expect him to be, Cy Young winner. And if we do that, I think we'll be fine. But that was a rough outing last night. I don't know if anything I just said helps if he sunk you last night. George Kirby allowed a run with 8 strikeouts over 6 innings. He is headed to Oakland to face the Athletics next. So yippee-ki-yay there. That sounds great. Let's revisit Kirby. Kirby is someone who is changed or has changed the way he attacks batters this season. The results have been, he's got a 102 whip and he's walked 6 guys in 12 starts. Like, you can't really complain about that. The interesting piece here, though, is the home run count is really starting to it's starting to get up there a little bit. And there is a line of thought, and I don't know if I buy this. There's always been this line of thought that when you throw as many strikes as Kirby does, when your control is as good as Kirby's is, when you're not really wasting pitches, you're not as difficult to bat as you could be, right? When Hunter Green's up there, I don't know if it's going up or down or in or out. He's throwing 99 miles an hour. He doesn't even know where it's going sometimes. George Kirby, it's going here, it's going here, it's going here, it's going here. Like, where he knows exactly where he's throwing the pitch. And some people, you hear it all the time. It's 0-2, waste a pitch. There's one line of thought that says that. You've got the huge advantage. Throw a pitch 4 inches outside and see if the guy will swing at it. There's another school of thought that says it's 0-2. Let's end this at bat on 3 pitches. Throw a pitch on the black and let's get this guy out and get to the next batter, right? So there's different ways to do this. With Kirby, what he was doing really wasn't working. So he changed up how he was attacking batters, which is pretty aggressive for a young pitcher. And it's not necessarily something that's recommended. I mean, his work against left-handed batters in particular, his WOBA against them was 245 as a rookie. It was 286 in year 2, and these are phenomenal numbers, right? 328 this year is not bad, but it's significantly up, right? And so and by the way, the home run per 9 there, it's early, but he's allowed 7 home runs already. That's a home run per 9 of 1.9 to lefties. So I don't know if the changes he made against lefties are necessarily working out, but he is not someone you should be worried about despite struggles. I think that he will find his zone here. He has allowed 5 runs in 2 of his last 3 outings, which has caused a lot of the concerns. It seemed like he really started to lock in. It's just been uneven. But at the end of the day, has he lived up to expectations? No. And it hasn't helped that he's 4-5, right? Hasn't lived up to expectations. But at the end of the day, he's not walking anybody. His whip is 1, and he's basically got to strike out an inning. Like, again, it's another one like Imanaga, except in reverse. With Imanaga, we have to be understanding that there's going to be a slowdown. With Kirby, I think we have to be understanding there's likely to be some improvement. Mostly in the ERA column and the record, the whip's not going to get any better. But when a guy struggles and he saw a 10.8 strikeout to walk ratio, I'm not concerned. MacKenzie Gore is someone we've talked about a lot. Just an update on Gore. 10 strikeouts, 5 1/3 innings yesterday against the Braves. Another strong effort for a Nationals pitcher against the Braves. First it was Irvin, then it was Gore. He allowed an earned run. He gave up 6 hits, didn't walk anybody. And I think that's the biggest issue with him, is that when any pitcher can avoid the walk, they're going to have success. When the pitcher has the ability to miss bats like Gore does, they're really going to have success. And he dropped his ERA into the 2s yesterday. And there were a lot of pitchers, and I'm not going to sit here and say that the industry didn't think MacKenzie Gore was going to have a solid season. The industry did think that, including me. But I didn't expect it, nor did the industry expect it to be this good. We're 11 starts in, and he's got a dominant 29% strikeout rate for a starting pitcher. His walk rate, which was 11% the last 2 years, way worse than the league average, is now even better than the league average at 7%. That's a significant move. Significant. And we're seeing the results. He's been very effective. He's been going deeper into games. There is still a 1.28 whip, which is elevated and strange to see given his walk rate. But then you look at the old batting average of balls in play. It's 353. That's not going to, no way. No way is that going to be the issue, the number the rest of the season. That's almost like legitimately, that's almost impossible for a starting pitcher to throw 150 innings and have a number of 350. It's almost impossible. So that number is going to come down. He's not Mr. Home Run, even though that number could tick up a little bit. 9% home run to fly ball ratio. Okay, a little bit. But I think that the heartening news with Gore is he's cut the walks. Batters are hitting the ball decidedly less impactful. I made up a word. How about impactful? Hard hit rate is way down. Exit velocity is way down. Barrel rate is way down from the previous 2 years. All of that is also strongly suggestive of the batting average of balls in play falling down. And, when you see an expected ERA of 3.5 and a Sierra of 3.1, we're basically talking about the ERA that he has right now being mostly earned. It's that whip that isn't really being earned because of the I'm creating words, fortune. Really struggling with MacKenzie Gore. The misfortune that he's faced in the batting average of balls in play column. And when that evens out, if he keeps throwing strikes and keeps missing bats, bottom line is he took a step last year in terms of his durability. This year, he looks like he's primed to take another step. And if he just keeps doing what he's doing right now, MacKenzie Gore has a chance to be a top 25 pitcher off the board next year. Pretty surprising to say that because it came really quickly. But it's also not surprising when you look at his talent, you look at his pedigree. It's just taken him a long time to actually get here, even though it seems like it's happened really fast, if that makes sense. It took him a long time. He had setbacks and all this kind of stuff. As I've said before, he was the number one left-handed pitching prospect in baseball who was drafted 3rd overall in 2017. So it's taken 8 years. It's not that fast. It's come quickly at the big league level. Seth Lugo. All of us know we had the player profile over at fantasyguru.com. Draft this guy in the 25th round. It'll be fine. He's been better than fine. And, he did it yet again. He allowed 1 earned run in 6 innings against the Twins. His ERA is 1.7. Now, this is impossible. We know that. What do you do with Seth Lugo? As I've said since the preseason, the Royals are just going to pitch him. This is not a guy that's likely to be on a pitch count. An innings pitch, there's no shutoff date for Seth Lugo. It all depends upon how he feels and how he's performing. Does that mean he throws 140 innings, 170 innings? I mean, that, again, how he feels and how he performs. But they will let him throw 170 innings if he's able and getting outs. So there's that. That's a positive in his column. The Royals are playing really good baseball, too. So the question really becomes, what my phone is blowing up here. Wow, man. They really wanted me to make sure I checked with my tenants that they're paying their rent this month. The Royals are playing really good baseball. And what do you do? Do you trade Seth Lugo? Because even people that aren't Seth Lugo people are going to look at this production and be like, holy crap, this guy's blazing. And again, I've always said this. If someone looks at Seth Lugo as a top 25 pitcher, and that's the price they will pay for him, you can trade him. Do you want to do that? It's the whole, you got to give something to get something. I get it. But Seth Lugo is, unlike so many of these other guys, every young pitcher that comes up that everyone wants to talk about, that all the questions come in about at the Ray Flowers on social media, you can find me Ray Flowers in the Discord too. All the questions are always about the youngsters. That's how people think. And Seth Lugo ain't young. So I'm kind of inclined just to keep him and let it roll, knowing that the ERA, in the greatest season of his life, the ERA is 2.7, right? So it's going to go up significantly. It's probably going to be in the 3. It's probably going to be 3.5. I would say this the rest of the way. Expect his ERA to be 3.5. If you're fine with that, keep him. If you don't think you can trade him. But he's been one of the finds of the season. He's been great for the Royals and for us in the fantasy space. Baily Ober, not good. Gave up 3 home runs last night. Nelson Velasquez took him deep twice. Salvador Perez took him deep. Gave up 6 runs across 5 innings. I saw people on social media complaining. We had people in Discord complaining. And, I was answering in Discord last night. Someone was saying that, he's so uneven, this sucks. And I basically said, oh, yeah, but it's only been a couple of starts. Because I was on the show, I was answering it during a commercial break from the Elite Sports Game Time show. I didn't realize the following. He's allowed 14 runs this year in 6 in the 3rd innings to the Royals. He's allowed 31 runs all season. 14 of them have been to the Royals in 2 starts that lasted 6 1/3 innings. You remove the 2 starts against the Royals, he's been banging. His first start of the year was terrible. His start last night was terrible. Sometimes teams have your number. Sometimes they have a great game plan. Sometimes it's happenstance. It's only 2 starts, right? They could have just been the 2 nights he didn't have his control. Okay. But these things do happen from time to time. And I think as a pullback, Baily Ober is someone I still would love to have in my rotation. If someone in your league is panic, rage dropped, I think that's the term we use, right? If they've rage dropped Baily Ober, go at him. If someone posts on the message board, I'm tired of Baily Ober, I'm moving on, give me peanuts, make an offer for Baily Ober. We want Baily Ober on our team. We do. 2 terrible starts against, 14 runs in 6 1/3 innings. Ooh. Those 2 efforts are going to make his seasonal numbers bleh. That's really catastrophically bad. But that doesn't mean that you can't get a guy in a trade right now. It's going to have a 3.5 ERA the rest of the way with a 1.17 whip. Doesn't mean that. Giving you a strikeout an inning. I think Baily Ober is still that guy. I'm still in on Baily Ober. Braxton Garrett allowed 1 run over 5 innings on Wednesday against the Padres. He's set to face the Rays next. We'll talk about the Rays here in a second. Braxton Garrett was someone that we identified a couple years ago at fantasyguru.com. He popped up on a lot of the metrics in the preseason work I did as somebody that, pitched pretty damn well. 2022, you can see it on the surface. But, he strike out an inning and a 1.25 whip. It wasn't obvious. And we profiled him last year as someone to target. And he went out last year and had a 3.7 ERA and a 1.15 whip and struck out a guy an inning. He was really good, lived up to our expectations. Coming into this year, he's dealt with all kinds of health woes. And so he's never really been able to get on track. He's only made 4 starts to date, but he has pitched well despite the ERA being 4.5. Whip is 106, 7-1 strikeout to walk ratio. He's not walking anybody. He's done a very effective job to date. Now, it is early. Sample size artifacts all over the place when you're talking 23 innings. He has been hit extremely hard. 93 mile an hour exit velocity is crazy high. The 49% hard hit rate is crazy high. Now, there's only been the combination of the hard hit rate and the launch angle 3 times. He only allowed 3 barrels in the 71 batted ball events, but those other 2 numbers are concerning. I think it's fair to suggest that, if we're looking at a combination of what we've seen to date and a combination of last year, we're looking at a pitcher in Garrett who can have a high 3 ERA and a 1.2, 1.25 whip. I think that guy is still here. Again, it comes down to health. I could say that about everybody, but when the guy's only made 4 starts, I think it's pretty obvious. Last 2 times out, a complete game shutout against the Diamondbacks. Last night against the Padres, allowed that 1 run in 5 innings, so obviously 1 run in 14 innings. Those 2 first outings, like we were talking about with Baily Ober a moment ago, the 2 first outings really skew the data with Garrett. If I had to say, is he more the last 2 starts or the first 2 starts? He's more the last 2 starts, but he's not a Cy Young winner. So there's grades here, folks. But Braxton Garrett is another one of the pitchers, and I had a question about him in Discord last night. He was on the waiver wire. He shouldn't be on the waiver wire. At this point, he's proven healthy. Let's give him a shot to be the guy he was last year. So I would highly recommend adding Braxton Garrett if he's available on the waiver wire. And the rankings will be available again June 1st at fantasyguru.com to see exactly where in the pantheon of pitching he sits. And I am being mad dogged by a squirrel right now who's staring at me through the door, sitting on his nut bar. Bro, there's got to be some nuts out there. He's a little guy. He must be a youngster. Go squirrels. Okay, let's talk a little bit now about some injury issues. Edwin Diaz has been placed on the injured list with the right shoulder impingement. He's pitched like butt. Ottavino struggled the other day. Someone asked me, who's the closer here? There's no closer at the Mets. The Mets bullpen stinks right now. They're just in a funk. And so my guesstimate would be Ottavino would be the lead guy, but this to me is a decidedly mix and match scenario. So Ottavino's the guy I would add if he's available. If Edwin Diaz misses 2 weeks, there might be 3 save opportunities for the Mets. It may not be something. Ottavino might get 1 save. Now, we haven't seen any information yet that suggests Edwin Diaz is going to miss 2 months or have to be shut down. We haven't seen that at all. So I'd be very cautious of being aggressive with adding any Mets players, as we discussed at the top of the show. Their record's terrible. They're not winning games. They're not pitching well right now. They're not performing well right now. I'm not busting budgets or waiver priority to add Adam Ottavino, but he would be the guy out of the crew. But again, I expect that crew to share the 9th inning and not have just one guy like it would be if Diaz is healthy and performing. Ricky Tiedeman's my guy. Ricky Tiedemann can't stay healthy. And I bring that up because Alek Manoah, who's in the rotation now, or was in the rotation for the Jays, had to leave his effort yesterday because of an issue with his elbow. He's going to have an MRI today. No telling what that means. There could very easily be an opening in the Jays rotation shortly. Ricky Tiedemann's not ready to take that spot, so it can't be him. Yariel Rodriguez could be the guy they go with. He's certainly got the talent to do that. I think they're going to be very cautious with his workload. They would like to use him as more of a long reliever because of his workload the last couple of years prior to joining the Blue Jays, but he's probably the best option short term. We'll see. We'll get more information today on that. If they do indeed say it's Yariel Rodriguez, again, it could take a while. Let's look at his pitch count and everything here in a sec. It could take a while for him to, work up enough or pitch enough to be able to go 5 or 6 innings, right, as a starting pitcher. And why am I? Come on, guys. There we go. Thanks for working. He's down on the farm right now. He last 4 starts at the major league level, and these were all in April. Were 3, 4, 4, and 3 innings of work. So, nothing terrific there. He's dealt with the back issue himself down on, that's why he's not with the big league club. But I think he's trending toward returning. Let's see. His last outing a couple of days ago, a hit and a walk. He's not ready. Shoot. He's not ready right now. So take back what I just said. He is not ready right now. It looks like he's going to need a little bit more time to figure things out health-wise, to build the stamina back up to the point where he is able to even – they could bring him up and he could pitch 3 innings. I don't know if they want to do that, right? That's kind of a rough place to be. So who would they turn to right now? I'm trying to figure this out live here as we're talking. They could do bullpen games, which clearly is an option for them. Yari Rodriguez is technically out with that back issue. Bowden Francis is out with the forearm issue. I talked about Tiedemann, who's not ready. Ugh, this is a messy scenario we're going with here. Paulo Espino, the 37-year-old. I don't know what the Blue Jays are going to do, but if Manoah's down, they might have to make a play here, at least in the short term. We'll follow that situation. I think the bottom line is whoever it might be at the moment, not someone we're going to be excited about in the fantasy game. Darvish was pulled from a start after 3 innings with tightness in his left hamstring. Have not seen an update this morning. Again, it's 8:30 on the West Coast, so not surprising we haven't seen an update. Let's do a quick check here as we're doing the show. Let's see if we see his name. I'm not seeing his name here. Nope. Okay, so I guess we still haven't gotten an update on him. Here's the good news as I'm looking at this. I'll come back to it in a second. So Darvish, we're kind of in a holding pattern. We don't know if he's going to miss a start. We don't know if he's going to hit the injured list. We don't know if this is a hiccup. But clearly that's a situation to watch because he was pitching so well before his last start, and then he hurt his hamstring last night. When Pete Crow Armstrong has been recalled by the Cubs, Luis Vasquez is being sent down. Ian Happ has started to hit. You've got Seiya Suzuki, Cody Bellinger, and Mike Tauchman. I don't know where Pete Crow Armstrong plays. He's obviously very exciting player. Again, I'm not really sure how he's in the lineup every day, especially with the way things are going, but that's a storyline if you're involved with youngsters and you like guys that could hit 15 home runs and steal 30 bases, who doesn't? Pete Crow Armstrong is being promoted right now, so you can run to the waiver wire and add him. We'll see, again, what the playing time is. As I'm sitting here reading this information, I don't know how he plays every day. Jeffrey Springs of the Rays, who left his last start after 1 inning or 1 batter. What was it? Batter an inning, whatever it was. Left his last start in his recovery from Tommy John surgery. Played long toss today. So his shoulder was an issue last time. Then they were talking about his lat a little bit. He's obviously had the elbow he's coming back from. So, there's a lot going on here with him, but he made 45 throws. Okay. Was able to long toss. This is an interesting story. Let me pull up the actual report because I'm reading one of the providers that gives information about that. Yeah, that's what it says. Okay. Christy Ackert says Jeffrey Springs played long toss with 45 throws out to 90 feet. Now, no offense to anybody, but I played baseball. Long toss is not 90 feet. That's first base to second base. That's second base to third base. That's third base to home. That's not long toss. Long tossing is like 120 feet. Okay. It's longer than what a pitcher normally does because he throws 60 feet, 6 inches, but 90 feet is not long tossing. So that's not an accurate report. He threw from 90 feet or up to 90 feet. He threw 45 times. Obviously, though, good news. As I've discussed in Discord, we'll see where Springs ends up in terms of when he's up in the big leagues, what he's able to do with the big leagues. The Rays are hoping that he will be available sometime in the second half. maybe July. We'll see. Speaking of the Rays, Junior Caminero, I mean, and this is the issue on top of, do we have an opportunity to fit in the lineup like Pete Crow Armstrong we just talked about? This is the other issue with these youngsters. Like, I have Junior Caminero in a 15-team mixed league because I anticipated he'd be up around now, right? He hurt his left quad in April, missed a couple of weeks. Then he had a scare, which ended up not being much, but he had a scare after he returned with his lower half. Well, now he's got that left quad strain again, and he's estimated to miss 4 to 6 weeks. An absolute best case scenario has him back at the end of July. That's a best case scenario if the 4 to 6 weeks is actually accurate. Again, we have the same leg, the same issue a second time. That's not what anyone wants to hear. That makes you think that the 4 to 6 weeks seems very fair, and it might be the 6 weeks because I don't know that this is a lingering issue, but it stands to reason. It's the same injury, basically. Maybe they didn't let it heal the first time, so that's probably something they're concerned about now. Nothing long-term. It doesn't matter long-term, right? But again, late July is the best case scenario. It's probably going to be August before we see Caminero in the big leagues. Do I hold Caminero? I'm going to have to drop him this week. I just wasted a bench spot, just like I'm sure a lot of you did too, on the potential. You play the game, sometimes it works. You play the game, sometimes you lose. Yet another Rays player hurt. And as I say all the time, they win games and they figure it out, and I give them full marks for doing that. But they really do seem to have a lot of injury issues, don't they? Just something to think about. Tyler O'Neill, who we talked about with the knee issue, he was indeed placed on the 10-day injured list. He was retroactive to the 26th, so they save a couple of days there with his right knee inflammation. They're calling it just inflammation right now. They think it'll be a short stay, so there's a chance he's back in a week. And then we'll have to see how he performs. But as we discussed, the strikeouts have gone through the roof. The performance has dipped after his amazing start. And this is just the Tyler O'Neill experience, unfortunately. It's a lot up and down with Tyler O'Neill. All right, let's look at the little chat room here and see what we got. Jeffrey G says, another gym session listen. Wow, that's pretty good. There's a new thing now, and I have not paid attention that there's drafting for fantasy football on a treadmill. Is it something through the Scott Fish Bowl? I don't know, right? Something you draft while you're on a treadmill. I don't know. If someone knows, you can leave a comment here. But if I'm at the gym, I don't go to the gym anymore. I used to have a gym in the garage. Then we moved here. Used to go to the swim because when you get old like me, you need low impact stuff. But yeah, if I was at the gym, I would usually listen to music. But hey, John, I appreciate listening to the show at the gym. Thank you for doing that. Rubby 17, Corbin Carroll 3 hits last night. Will he finally start to heat up? I don't know. And I know you didn't ask the question expecting a dumbass side comment like that, but I don't know. Everyone has talked about this scenario, and we can pinpoint a couple of things with Carroll that are an issue. At the end of the day, I don't know. I just don't know. You can read the data that he's hurt. You can read the data that he's not hurt, and he's just in the funk of all funks in the history of the universe. And this happens to players. And next year he might go back to being Corbin Carroll. It might be totally fine. And just to say this, I have no inside information with Corbin Carroll. None. Zero. Sometimes life is hard, right? Just life. Not playing a sport, not doing your job. Sometimes life is hard. Maybe something's going on with him. And we'll find out later that something was up. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. I hope, and I still believe he will be much better in the second half. I still have hope that the guy we saw last year we'll see again this year. But clearly there's no way he's living up to the cost you paid. Clearly there should be no expectation whatsoever that you're going to get the guy you saw last year this year. You can't be in that boat right now. I just struggle to fail. I just really struggle to think, the next 100 games, he can't be league average. Like, I really just struggle. He's too good. He's too talented. He does everything well on the field. I can't see it. Maybe it's one of those years. Maybe there's something going on away from the field. I don't know. Maybe the shoulder is killing him, even though he says it's okay and the team says it's I hope, Rubby, that it's the start of something. And, he's started to hit the ball a little bit here the last week. Okay. So, again, I'm all about making a trade for him. If you can give something up that's reasonable, someone was asked, what was the trade the other day? Someone asked me about, it's like Kyle Schwarber or Carroll. And it's like, it was yesterday, I think. I'm like, yeah. And I went, Kyle Schwarber. Like, it's so tough. Schwarber's not been great either, right? It's just so tough with Carroll. But I'd love to get Carroll if I didn't have to pay the price for Carroll. If I had to pay the price, well, he's my 5th outfielder now. I'm all about making that move. If I had to give up Corey Seager, which was one of the offers I got, I'm not doing that. Chaka says, morning. John G with an update. Just listen to the last 3 days pods. Thanks for all the info. And yes, I'm a guy. I was one asking about Turnbull in Discord the other day. Oh, okay. That's sometimes, and I apologize to people when sometimes the names are different here, right? Your name is different than your Discord room name. I do apologize to if I sometimes seem like I don't remember you or I don't remember the exact trade we were talking about 3 days ago. I'm sorry. I'm doing literally a gazillion things, and it's really difficult just behind the scenes. When again, not woe is me. I'm just explaining things. It's difficult that I'm fully 100% in baseball. I'm putting bets out every day. I'm writing DFS articles. I'm doing seasonal articles. We're doing the show. I'm answering questions in Discord. And behind the scenes, I'm writing football articles. And behind the scenes, I'm answering Discord football questions. Like, it's really tough to do all that. Oh, and by the way, I'm talking 18 hours a week. Oh, and for this show, prep time, post, and pre, I'm now up to 23 hours a week where I'm talking. Like, there's a lot going on. So I apologize if I sometimes don't put it together. If I remember this question about Turnbull the other day, it was why your friends were up in arms that Taijuan Walker was starting and not Turnbull. I think I remember that question at least. Sorry I didn't put it to your face there, John. Chaka, between two promising young outfielders, who catches your eye more, or young infielders, who catches your eye more, Nick Gonzalez or Joey Ortiz? Good question. I would say Ortiz by a hair. I think that both of these guys, it's a very fair question. I think it's a very even question. I think that both of them have shown some flashes here at the start of their efforts in 2024. I would favor Ortiz slightly. It's close. I don't get a feeling that it's an OPS category league. I don't get the feeling that call I'm making right now is one that I'm married to. And I know that isn't, that's not what you want to hear. Sometimes you all ask questions. There are great questions that are kind of toss-ups. I think this is one of those toss-ups, to be fair. I really do. I'll go Ortiz, but it's very close. And that is not an easy answer. Chaka also says, as for the New York Mets, McGill looked good against LAD, a mirage. I mean, they need it not to be. They desperately need it not to be. I think McGill's a talented guy. He pitched very well against the Dodgers, absolutely. I think that we're in that zone of pitching where, that time of year, where when a guy makes a good start or two and against a good opponent, you get interested. I think that in the right setup, he's an ad. I think he's in the streaming zone. I don't think he's someone that I see right now and think like, I've got to get that guy, or he's someone I'm going to blow a budget for, or he's someone that I'm aggressively going to target, make a trade for, that kind of thing. His brother, by the way, they're hoping Trevor, is able to avoid the injured list. So that's good news with that ball after taking that ball off his elbow. I think that, what is he, 28? Yeah, he's 28 years old, Tyler. He's going to get an opportunity. So there's that he has going for him. He can miss bats. We've seen that. He does struggle with strikes at times, throwing strikes. I think that he's a league average pitcher with the ability to miss bats. That kind of guy in the right matchup. Okay. So yeah, I think he's someone, to me, I think I'd put it more of, I'm going to put him on a watch list, kind of thing, versus I got to grab him. He has really struggled against lefties. I'm looking at his numbers right now. Against lefties in his career, his WOBA was 368. Lefties are hitting 290 against him with a 364 on base percentage and a 489 slugging percentage. He has really struggled against lefties. And until he figures out a way to keep the lefties in control, it's just tough. It's just, and I know teams aren't full of lefties. Let's not get crazy about this, but it's just tough when you have that level of struggle. I'm trying to pull up the schedule here. Let's look at the schedule real quickly. If the Mets stay on order and they leave him in the rotation, he'll pitch Sunday against Arizona. And then he would be next week against Philly. So decent start against Arizona, not a good start next week against Philadelphia if he stays in the rotation and they continue to avoid rainouts and all that kind of stuff. Brandon A. morning. Fam and Ray, hello. Looking forward to the ranking coming up, Ray. Thanks for all your hard work. You got it, Brandon. Appreciate you. I'm as soon as I get off here, I'm gonna write a ramblings piece, and then I'll be spending the rest of the day doing the ranking. Started it last night, so we're getting ready for that Saturday release. Chaka says, Imanaga, too much rest. Extreme fly ball, hot hitting Brewers team in Milwaukee, recipe for disaster. Boom. You called it. It's exactly what happened. And it's one of those things that in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense. I don't know. Like if someone asked me and no one did, should I bench Imanaga yesterday? It's like, no, I'm still not going to bench him. But like you're saying, Chaka, it made sense that he struggled in the effort. Scott G says, all good, Ray. You got it, Scott. And David P, who often jumps in here right at the end to ask a question. David, you're really good at that. You're doing a good job, Ray. I enjoy your show. You and Jeff did a good show yesterday. Thank you. It's always fun. I'm on with Jeff on the Elite Sports Game Time. The Elite Sports Show with Jeff Mans is Monday through Friday on Sirius XM from 3 to 6 Eastern. I'm on Wednesdays. Ted's on a couple times a week. Jeff's on 5 days a week. Justin and I are on the Elite Sports Game Time Show. And if you haven't listened to that, I encourage you to give it a listen. Well, what we do is we track bets. We track the articles, the DFS articles, mostly about baseball now. We were doing a lot of basketball when that was in season. Now we're down to barely any teams left as they're going through the playoffs. Same thing with hockey, but we mentioned the scores on the court, scores on the ice. We talk about a lot of baseball right now. So if baseball is your thing, you probably want to listen to the Elite Sports Game Time Show Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10, because we basically spend 2 hours talking about baseball in some form. We're playing off the live game action, but then, we'll be talking about George Kirby, and we'll change into a conversation about Julio Rodriguez because we're talking about the Mariners. So it's kind of fun. Hopefully you're all enjoying that if you get an opportunity to listen to that as well. So thanks for listening to this today. Really appreciate it. Going to get going, write that ramblings piece, get the updated rankings cranking so I can release them on the 1st of June, which is Saturday. Thanks for listening to the show. Tell a friend, all that good stuff. Salutations. We'll start our football talk tomorrow. Russell Clay is set to join us at the 11:30 Eastern Time hour as we start our look into 2024 with fantasy football. And tomorrow should be the release date, if I'm not mistaken, of the fantasy football product for 2024 at fantasyguru.com. Subscribe now tab in the top right corner of the site. Get the DFS package. Get the seasonal package. Get the wagering package. We got you covered in all respects over at fantasyguru.com. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern for Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.